Hello everyone, welcome to our first podcast, IB at British American School. I'm so happy to be here with you. This is the first of many, and we're going to share with you all the wonderful things that we have about the IB program, in this case at our institution. Today we're going to be talking about the attributes of the profile, the IB profile. And in order to do these, Ms. Lupita is here with me. And Ms. Lupita, say hello.
Hi, Lina. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here today, and thank you for inviting me to this podcast. Today we're going to be focusing on the IB learners profile. Let me tell you, I'm a PYP coordinator. I've been here at school since 2012, and the school was authorized for teaching the PYP in 2015. We've been some years carrying out and implementing it.
You are an expert, Ms. Lupita. And because she's an expert, we're going to be talking about the 10 attributes that integrate the IB profile. And this happens in all the programs, the different programs that we have. I'm going to mention the 10 attributes, and we're going to be talking about them a little bit. Here we want to be inquirers, or we want our students to be knowledgeable, thinkers, communicators, principled, open-minded, caring, risk-takers, balanced, and reflective.
That's great. And let me just explain that all these attributes really build up for the community to become international minded. We want to develop international mindedness in our students, but also in the community. And now that we're there, how do you do with inquiry, especially with the students in middle school?
Let's begin with this, which is one of the most important attributes in the programs, how to be an inquirer. What we do in middle school and high school is that we encourage students to ask questions. So we want them to be asking and asking and asking. Sometimes when they present information and the teacher helps them to go beyond, so we go like, and how do you know that? Are you sure about that information? And then students start wondering, is that true? Is that not true? Why is the teacher asking me? They always go beyond. There are people, the other students who are listening to them, also start asking questions. Probably questions that don't come to the mind of a person that is speaking, but then the others help having more questions, no?
That's amazing. For example, in the PYP, what we do, because being an inquiry, it's not only about a way of acting, but also a way of thinking and a way of doing things. What we do explicitly, we teach students to develop these skills of questioning, of researching. That's an inquirer. It's like in the early years in action, we might show the students a picture, and they will start wondering, what is this picture about? How is that related to what I'm doing? How can I connect this to my life? And that's a way to really promote students being inquirers.
Ms. Lupita, I don't know if you agree with me, but this leads us to another attribute that we also push students to get into, being knowledgeable. Being knowledgeable, which is how much you know about different things, about different topics. It is not that you become an expert, but it is important that you know about different topics. And this is connected to being an inquirer. How do you do this in the elementary school, PYP program?
Like in the PYP, even when they are very little, from 3 to 12, that's where the PYP is at, we encourage students to find out. We want them to research. We want them to be curious. Then what do you do with that? Then you share it, obviously, and then you need to be knowledgeable in order to talk about any subject. So what we do in the units of inquiry is we include learning experiences for them to find out. We want them in this inquiry cycle to find out, to become knowledgeable, and then we can link it to the next attribute, which is communicate what we know. We want students to be good communicators.
Exactly. We're just like, this is like a map. They inquire, they start investigating. Then they know, and they know more and they investigate. They know more and they investigate. Now, I know this, how do I communicate it? And that is a very good or a very interesting attribute. For example, in middle school, what we do is that we push them to develop campaigns, for example. Or normally, because this is like traditional education, they are very used to coming to the front and probably give a presentation to their classmates, but that is not the only way. What about a campaign? What about propaganda?
Yes, for example, in the PYP we might end up having a responsible action after learning, and so we want them to promote and to convince others of doing something responsibly. For instance, we had these children who were inquiring into endangered species, and they were from Kinder 3, Lina. Mm-hmm. They were from Kinder 3, it's amazing. And they were like trying to find out why there were some species, like in birds, that were endangered. What they did, there was this little girl, now she's in middle school, by the way, and she came up and she said, why don't we go to this pet shop and we bring a policeman to let the people know that it's not good to buy these birds because we are affecting them. We're not being caring towards them.
Exactly, we're not being caring, and we are now connecting it to the next attribute, how to be or how to learn that we need to be caring. Again, we have the map. You communicate but now you also need to be very responsible, and you have to be aware of how you can help others.
I think it connects to our mission in the school, that we want to be responsible citizens, we want to be responsible human beings, and caring is not only about caring about yourself, but also caring about others. And so what we do, even from when they are very little in the early years, we kind of acknowledge their good actions. I don't know, if you shared lunch with somebody, or if you helped a friend who was lonely and you wanted to join in the game, that was caring. And by pointing it out, we are encouraging students to develop this sense of caringness.
Absolutely. And now at the beginning we were mentioning that we are working hard to make them realize that they are part of a community. They are part of the world, because we also need to consider that we live and we share the same space. Community starts, of course, here at school, your neighborhood, your city, your town. So they need to also think about that and how they can help, how they can provide a service to the community.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but it takes me to this idea of being principled, because being principled is part of doing what is correct, doing the right thing, following the class agreements. For instance, for example, in elementary school, students build their class agreements, and they come up with good behaviors, actions that they know that it's important for them to live in a community. So being principled is very important. How do you do this in the middle years?
You know that
middle school, sorry.
In middle school and also in high school, you know that towards the end of the school year, they need to present a project. This is a community project. People who are listening to us, please in the comments, if you have an idea of a good community project, please let us know. Probably we can share this information with our students. They come up with very wonderful ideas about how to support community, and being principled is something that is like the base. They need to think about integrity. They need to think about, yes, we can help, but they have to limit themselves, and this is like, how can I say, they have to think about the limits of ethics. Yes, we want to help, but that's why we teachers are there to guide them on those principles, on those things that probably they cannot think of, and they can provide this service to the community and help.
Being principled connects with this concept of respect and fairness, as you said, and that is why we need the help of the whole community, because children cannot learn to be principled unless we all model these attributes. And parents, you can do it too, and you can help at home by promoting fairness and respect towards anybody, to their peers, to their teachers, to the public service people, in the community. That is very important, isn't it?
That is very important, and this leads us to another attribute. As you can see, again, we have a map, open-minded. And being an open-minded person doesn't necessarily mean that I can understand different ideas, but I also respect different ideas. I also respect what other people think, and I also respect, and now that we're asking parents and the community to help us, because we're a team, we need to work as a team, parents, teachers, friends, community, everyone. We also need to focus on this being open-minded. Understand what the other person thinks, understand different religions, different cultures, respect them.
Something we use a lot in the early years and lower elementary is storytelling.
Okay.
Storytelling that connects with cultures, with thinking differently, and also to one way of being open-minded. We want everybody to participate. We want students to respect everybody's ideas. For instance, in the English program, we have these prompts that they use, in which I love that, because they can say, I agree with you, or I don't agree with you because, and support their thinking. And that is wonderful. Imagine that when you're 10, that you are able to say that. Wouldn't it be a better world if we were able to agree and disagree respectfully?
I agree with you, Ms. Lupita, because when we receive kids in middle school, we can see this attribute very clearly, because they are all the time wondering, and they are all the time asking, they are all the time analyzing and reflecting about their actions, about why they have this idea or why other people have a different idea, why I don't share that idea, what makes me different. And this takes us to this other attribute that is being reflective. I think that's, I don't know if you agree with me, one of the most important attributes that we have in the profile.
Reflection is embedded in the whole IB program. There is no learning if there isn't reflection. Being reflective, having students analyze or think, how is this going to help me in the future? What did I learn? How did I learn it? How can I use this knowledge to keep learning and become a self-directed learning in the future, be a learner for life? This reflection, it's always there, and I love it. I love children being able to reflect and say, yes, I did this and it was wrong, but I can do better. Having this growth mindset, it's important when you are being reflective.
And reflection should be part of our lives, should be part of every single person's lives. And it is wonderful that these programs, the IB programs, it pushes and take us, teachers, lead students to learn that process. Because we as adults, we sometimes don't take the time to stop and reflect.
It's so difficult nowadays with all this sense of needing to be at every moment at the same time. It's really inviting for everybody that is listening. Take time to reflect. Model for your children. How can they reflect to keep growing? And that is going to connect really well with this next and very important attribute of being balanced. We need to be aware of taking care of ourselves and to doing things in a balanced way. We want children to know that there is their mental health as well as their physical health and as well as their social health, right?
Yes, balance, again, complicated, but not impossible. Not impossible. I think I am one of those people who believes that everything is possible if you really want to be there. And we really believe that if we help our kids, we help our students be there, everyone can be there. And parents, please help us, community, people, because again, and I insist a lot, this is a team. We have to model. We have to model. And at the same time we're modeling, we're learning.
Yes, Lina, and this is why it's the learner's profile, the community learner's profile. It's not only for students, but it's also for teachers, it's also for leaders, it's also for parents, and we invite all the families to join in and to practice and reinforce these attributes at home. We have, the British American School has developed this guide for parents, which will give you tips on how you can encourage students and your children to become international minded people through these 10 attributes of the IB learner's profile.
And I think that I'm going to mention this phrase that I love. The learner profile is not just a set of attributes. It's a way of life that shapes our students into global citizens. I don't know if you agree, and I don't know if you like that phrase to close our podcast, our first podcast.
Yes, that'll be great. And also inviting you to join us in the next podcast, because we will be going deeper into how is this IB learner's profile really promoting your children's learning.
And thank you very much. I hope you have learned a lot about the IB attributes, about the IB profile, and of course we're here to help you, help us. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you. See you soon.